VEKTOR online. Case file open. Early 2024, Hong Kong. A finance employee at the global engineering firm Arup receives a message about a confidential transaction, then joins a video conference with the company's chief financial officer and several colleagues. Familiar faces, familiar voices. Following their instructions, he sends 15 transfers totaling roughly 25 million United States dollars. Every person on that call, except him, was a deep fake. No malware, no network intrusion. The entire breach ran on synthetic trust. This is the deepfake transfer fraud, walked stage by stage with the defender view at every hop. Everything here is public record, police statements, and the company's own confirmation. Debrief begins now. Stage 1. Reconnaissance. A deepfake needs raw material and corporations publish it daily. Executive keynotes, earnings calls, interviews, internal town halls that leak to video platforms, every minute of footage is training data for a synthetic face and voice. The attackers also needed the org chart, who reports to whom, who can move money, and what a plausible confidential request looks like. Details that live on professional networks and in company announcements. Defender view. You cannot unpublish your executives, so Recon defense here is about awareness. Treat all public executive media as already weaponized, and brief finance teams that the more senior and more recognizable the requester, the more verification their request requires, not less. Familiarity is the exploit surface. Stage 2. Access. The entry point was a message to the finance employee, purportedly from the chief financial officer in the United Kingdom, describing a confidential transaction that needed discreet handling. Police noted the employee was initially suspicious. It read like phishing. The attackers expected that, and the video call existed precisely to dissolve the doubt. Defender view. This is a kill point. The phishing message is still the weakest link in the chain before any deepfake appears. Mail authentication, banner warnings on external or first-time senders, and an enforced rule that secret, urgent, tell no one requests are automatically escalated rather than honored all fire here. The attacker's need for secrecy is the defender's signature. Legitimate finance almost never requires hiding from your own colleagues. Stage 3. Discovery. For the attackers, discovery meant learning the company's payment world well enough to fake it, which colleagues to render on screen, what meeting tone to strike, and which accounts should receive the funds. The convincing detail was social. The call included multiple recognizable participants, not just one face, a chorus of authority. Defender view. The defensive mirror of this stage is knowing your own payment topology, who is actually authorized to instruct transfers, through which channels, to which whitelisted counterparties. A finance operation that only accepts instructions through its workflow system, never through chat plus a meeting link, removes the stage entirely, because no amount of synthetic charisma can sign into the payment platform. Stage 4. Privilege escalation. The video call was the escalation. In the moment the employee accepted those faces as real, the attackers acquired the practical authority of a chief financial officer without ever touching a server. Reported details suggest the deep-faked participants spoke instructions and the meeting ended quickly, limiting interaction that might expose the fake. Defender view. This is a kill point. Human verification needs a second channel by policy. Hang up. Call the executive back on a number from the directory, not from the invite. Liveness challenges work too. Ask the face on screen to turn sideways, raise a hand, or answer something only the real person knows. Current synthetic video degrades under unscripted interaction. Make unscripted interaction the norm for any call that moves money. Stage 5. Lateral movement. Trust, once established, was reused. The operation continued over roughly a week, with follow-up communication sustaining the fiction while transfers proceeded, 15 of them, to multiple local accounts where funds were dispersed onward through the mule networks that industrial fraud depends on. Defender view. Each additional transfer was another chance to break the chain. Velocity rules, new beneficiary holds, and pattern alerts, one employee suddenly paying many first-time accounts in close succession exist in most banking platforms. Corporate side, a daily reconciliation between transfers executed and transactions recorded in the finance system surfaces a ghost project within a day, not a week. Repetition is where fraud becomes visible. Force the fraud to repeat against controls. Stage 6. Impact. Roughly 200 million Hong Kong dollars, about 25 million United States dollars, left the company before anyone checked with headquarters. When the employee finally verified the transaction internally, the money was already moving through layered accounts. Recovery prospects in such cases shrink by the hour. Defender view. This is a kill point measured in minutes. Banks can recall transfers that have not cleared the laundering layers, so the impact control is speed. An internal fraud hotline that finance staff can trigger without fear. Pre-established contacts at the receiving banks, and a rule that verification happens before settlement windows close, not after. The difference between embarrassment and catastrophe in payment fraud is almost always response latency. Stage 7. Fallout. Hong Kong police disclosed the case publicly as a warning, describing the multi-person deepfake conference, and the firm later confirmed it had been the target, noting its internal systems were never breached. The case became the global reference point for synthetic media fraud against corporations, cited in security briefings and regulatory guidance worldwide. Defender view. This is a kill point for everyone else. The company's transparency converted its loss into the industry's training data. Use it, run a tabletop where the chief financial officer requests an urgent confidential transfer on video, and watch where your own process bends. Every finance team that rehearses this case raises the cost of the next attempt. Where it dies. 4 controls, 4 chances. First, escalate secrecy. Any payment request that demands confidentiality from colleagues is escalated by rule, because legitimate finance does not hide from itself. Second, verify out of band. Call back on a directory number every time, no matter how real the face looks. Third, move money only through the payment workflow. Dual authorization above thresholds. No transfers initiated from meetings or chat. Fourth, respond in minutes. Fraud hotline, bank contacts, recall procedures, because synthetic trust is fast and recovery windows are faster. Defend, detect, respond. A finance employee wired approximately $25.6 million to fraudsters, and the faces on that video call had been deep-faked. No malware, no network breach, just a synthetic CFO and a chorus of deep-faked colleagues on a single meeting link. The entire attack chain ran on trust. Walk every stage with the defender checkpoints and find out how a call that looked this real should have been stopped at step 2. Your payment controls assume the person giving the order is real. In Hong Kong, 2024, that assumption cost one company approximately $25 million across just days of transfers. 15 transfers, 15 chances to stop it, and every one of them missed. We break down the velocity rules, the out-of-band callbacks, and the key control that can help stop this chain before a single dollar moves. Because the next face on that call could be your CFO. Case file closed. Next debrief, an attacker spends about $8 on a stolen password, bombs an employee with login prompts until one gets approved, and finds the keys to everything sitting in a script. The $8 breach, stage by stage, and where it dies. The full stories behind these case files live on our sister channel, SYB3R S0RY. Debrief complete. Go hunt.